and it looks like we have a squatter on the show today.
Yeah, look at him sitting over there.
Let me tell you something. I have come all the way back, 7,000 miles, just to annoy you. Mission accomplished.
It's working.
It is working.
Within
My
10
goodness.
seconds.
Not true of me. Not true of me.
No, Tim, I have come to honor you and your writing ability, your directing and producing ability, your musical ability. Wade, I have come back to annoy you.
I so regret this already.
Mark's here.
I'm very excited to be here, Wade, and Tim.
What are you doing here?
Well, Wade, here's the thing.
What can we make you do to go away?
I'll be going away very soon.
Okay.
I'm only here for a short time.
Yeah, we got you for a couple of weeks, so it's all good.
I am living in Paris.
Yeah.
And I get an email.
Yeah.
And the email is from my old job. And they say, would you like to come back for 12 weeks? And I thought to myself, well, money is money.
Uh-huh.
You have to say yes, because if you say, especially in this business, because if someone offers you work and you say no, they may not ask you again
Yeah, that's
the next
happened to me.
time it comes around. Oh,
What?
Mark, he said no last time. Forget him. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And you have to honor the fact that of the 500 producers who live 50 feet away from the studio, they called me 7,000 miles away because they obviously liked me and thought of me.
Yep.
So I said, you know what? Let's do it. So I came back, and I'm working at E! Entertainment Television for 12 weeks.
Look, you've never been a guy who burns bridges, Mark. You know. Yeah,
No.
I mean, pretty much every maybe that Roseanne situation probably can't go back there.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, really, it was Roseanne. And by the way, I hope everybody at this point has seen Fahrenheit 11/9.
Yeah.
Starring Michael Moore and
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
In fact, my next documentary will be called Michael and Me. About how I tracked down Michael Moore to ask him why he didn't get a release. And make me sign a release for my appearance in that movie.
We actually got a number of emails from listeners saying, hey, have you guys seen the new Michael Moore film? Because Mark is in it. So people saw it.
So here's the situation, then you guys can go off and do
Yeah.
your Blu-ray crap. So I'm in Paris. I'm literally sitting in bed in Paris, relaxing. I'm on the computer looking for jobs that are never going to happen because I don't speak French. And I get an email from a friend of mine. And she says, not an email, a text from a friend of mine. She says, I'm sitting in the Michael Moore movie right now. You're in it. And I said,
nice.
You mean like a B-roll shot? Just some random shot of me in a crowd? She goes, no. You're in it with dialogue, subtitled. You're talking to Michael. You're in the movie. A scene. You, Michael, talking together. Movie, in it. And the first thing I texted back is, do I sound like a blithering idiot or do I at least come across like a professional? And she didn't answer that part.
My question is, do you remember, when this happened, do you actually remember that there was a camera on you?
I remember nothing. So and it's funny because here's what happened. So about a year ago, I got an email from a woman who is a researcher for Michael. And the woman emails and says, my name is blah, blah. I work for Michael Moore. We're doing a documentary. He's working on it now. And we're trying to track down the footage of when Michael and Donald Trump were on the Roseanne talk show, which I produced many years ago. Do you know where that footage is? And I said, I do not know where that footage is. I'm happy to help Michael, but I don't know where it is. And that became a phone call with the researcher. And the researcher says to me, you know what? There is footage, and I have a still. And I believe the still contains two of the producers from the show. If I send you that still, can you identify the producers? Because I can then maybe follow up with them. And they may know where this footage is of Donald and Michael at Tavern on the Green, which is where we shot those shows 20 years ago. So he just says, send me the still. If I know who they are, I'm happy to tell you who they are. So she emails me the still. I look at the still, and I email her back, and I say, well, the man on the left is very familiar because it's me. And I don't know where the footage is.
Nice.
I said, the man on the right is Jason Schrift, who is now executive producer of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Very successful, terrific producer, amazing career. He may know where the footage is. I have no idea, but that's who that is. And that was it. I heard nothing for a year until I got a text from my friend who said, I'm sitting in Fahrenheit 11/9, you're in it. And so, frankly, one of the reasons I came back was to see the goddamn movie. Because I had to see this movie.
Nice.
I had to know Do I sound like a blithering idiot? Do I come across as a professional? Am I the reason why Trump got elected? It might come down to me. I don't know. So I had to see it at the biggest theater I could. So me and a friend went to the ArcLight in Hollywood. My friend actually whipped out his phone and took video of the scene I'm in and posted it on Facebook to all of his friends and said...
Which is illegal, by the way.
Which is illegal, by the way. Well, you know what?
Just go ahead and ignore that.
Wade and Tim and our friend Ray Green, we briefly entertained the idea that he should have gotten a release.
Yeah.
Now...
Which I still stand by.
Well, here's the thing. We're in the middle of Central Park. There's no expectation of privacy. We're in a public place. There's cameras. And I don't have a leg to stand on. The only thing is that if...
There's no expectation of privacy in Central Park?
In the middle of Central Park? It's unbelievable.
That's amazing.
If my appearance had destroyed my credibility, like I came across as a complete idiot, I might have rolled the dice just to regain what was left of my reputation. But the fact is, I just came across as just your average stupid person for 15 seconds, and that was it, so I let it go.
Well, you were producing. You were like literally producing.
You were doing what you were paid to do.
Yeah. If somebody wants to know what producing is, and you ever sitting around out there going, I don't know what a producer does, watch those few moments, and I would say that that's about what a producer does. Stand between these kinds of people making these sorts of decisions, trying to get things to go one way or the other to make the show effective, because that's what the show's supposed to work.
We had a guest who was going to walk. My job was to, and not me, but other people too, not just me, but my job was, I just was the one in the movie, but other people too. Our job was to salvage the situation, to get Donald to not bolt, and to get Michael to go easy on him. And that's my job.
There you
and
go.
I and the others involved did our jobs.
Well, the movie is tanked, and no one has seen it.
Which is good, because then that's less people to see me flailing my arms around like a New York idiot. Well, Donald, bling, bling, bling. My arms are going like 180 degrees back and forth.
Oh, well.
So that's my story.
Anyway.
So everybody, please, buy the Blu-ray, because I'm also doing the audio commentary for the Blu-ray. Now, my audio commentary is only the 90 seconds of my scene. I'm also producing a special behind-the-scenes documentary of my scene.
That'll be 120 seconds.
It'll be 120 seconds.
Longer than the actual scene.
Very
well,
exciting.
the only other thing I'm gonna contribute here has nothing to do with that, but I'm on Film Week on Friday, and not that this is on Film Week. It's not. It doesn't come out till the end of the year. But I just want to say I'm not supposed to say anything about Stan and Ollie.
I saw it.
But I really liked it. Did you
saw
like it?
You really liked it?
I did. I really liked it.
I just thought to myself, it was okay.
Who's wrong? Who's incorrect?
So
for the part,
they're both terrific.
They're terrific.
Then what's wrong?
And you got to admit, like Outta.
It seemed
Ida's great.
Huh?
Outta is great.
Oh, she's the Russian wife.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
steals the movie.
Funny. But here's the thing, though. She's a little over the top.
Oh no! She's great.
She's over the top.
She's
so
fantastic.
Okay, did you really feel for their arguments and the fact that they were estranged and one of them felt betrayed and they're trying to get over it through this tour? Did you feel any of that, or was it just a big costume party?
No, I did. I did actually feel that.
I haven't seen that one yet. Saw Bohemian Rhapsody.
I saw that.
How's that?
Rami Malek is fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't decided about the movie yet.
The movie's not great.
Yeah,
he's good in it.
But he's just so good that it almost doesn't matter because he's all wrong. He's not tall enough.
Yeah.
His body is shaped the wrong way. I mean, his skin color is the right color, and he has that head, and he's wearing a prosthetic, whatever.
The teeth, yeah.
So he has to really do it. But he's doing what Hopkins did when Hopkins played Nixon.
Right.
Rather than imitating, he's just sort of
inhabiting. The essence, yeah.
But there are these moments. There's this big scene at the end when they do the. You remember Live Aid, 1985, Wembley Stadium. It was a big deal and all this kind of stuff. And they reproduced this. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but you can go on the YouTube and find the one that says, Queen performance Wembley Stadium official version, best version, or something like that. And it really is. It's like high definition. It's fantastic. I don't know how they got the rights to post that. And you watch this movie and that performance, and then you watch that every moment.
Really?
Exactly. There are these Pepsis spread out on top of the piano that Freddie was playing on in a white cup, and they have them positioned exactly as they were.
Crazy.
There are moments when Freddie takes a sip, and I mean, just doesn't drink, but he takes a sip and he has his pinky out like this.
Yeah.
He puts his fucking pinky out, dude. I'm like, you know what, Rami?
Yeah.
Go boy.
Yeah.
Go boy.
So I saw that.
You saw that too?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. Did you? Now, when did you see it?
On the lot a couple of weeks ago. They had a little party and all that crap.
Wait, were we at the same thing? Were Rami and the
Rami and the producer dude and
we were the same thing. I should have. I
did not. There. Well, there were 1,000 people there.
Well, because here's the thing, though, is that I remember that the guy who played Brian May, who was very good. The movie. Here's the thing: the problem with the movie is that it's exactly the type of movie you would imagine in a film that was approved by the band.
Right.
Which means you're not going to really go there because the band loves the movie.
Yeah.
Right. But I remember Brian May, who's the guy who played Brian May, who's very good in it. He said that was the scene they shot first. They shot that.
No
they
kidding.
shot that concert stuff first, and it was a big challenge for them because they hadn't really met each other and cohesed as a cast yet, and they had all that physical stuff they had to do and know their instruments. But they just buckled up and said, "We're doing this thing," and they did it. It was great.
Lots of interesting.
It's an entertaining movie. I'll call it that.
You know what? I was hoping for more than an entertaining movie.
Me too.
Yeah.
But he's great in it. He's very good in it. There's no doubt about it.
And apparently too, the other thing that happened, as long as we're talking about concert scenes, in Star Is Born, if you're wondering about how they shot those great concert scenes, do you know the story on this? They were at what's the thing in the desert? The concert. Coachella. So they just went to a Gaga concert at Coachella and basically paid everybody to stay afterwards. Paid everyone in the audience $10 to stay afterwards to be extras for the crowd shots for the stuff they were going to shoot for Stars.
Oh, for all the Bradley singing.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
Why create a false concert? Just where is Gaga doing a concert? All right. Hey everybody, we're going to be shooting a thing for a movie. Hang around afterwards. We'll pay you $10. Hell yeah.
But that But that level of authenticity, even though you're paying people $10, that level of authenticity as opposed to CGIing a crowd, is exactly the sort of thing that I can now see Bradley Cooper doing. That whole movie has such an authenticity to it.
Right.
You know,
it feels like a Hal Ashby movie shot in like 1976 or something.
That's true. But we talked about how there's even some stuff that happens in that movie, if played by anybody else, directed by anybody else, would be campy. Okay, that scene when she gets the award and he stumbles drunk on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody else you'd just be like, come on, you'd be laughing. But somehow your heart's breaking for them, and it works. I mean, all the stuff that would be melodramatic or campy, done by anybody else, works because he establishes that feeling of authenticity.
Spot on, true.
Takes it all the way. By the way, Bradley Cooper. Fluent in French, annoys the crap out of me.
You know what? I saw that too. I was watching. He did an interview on French television. Speaks French better than I do. It's wrong.
It can be frustrating. I haven't decided about his voice in that movie. He's doing this.
Yeah. Well, he's doing Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but Chris Christopherson's doing
I guess
Chris
he worked with a
Christopherson.
voice guy.
It's a deliberate thing.
Yeah.
I still, whenever I watch a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I still cannot picture him doing the Rocket Raccoon voice.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't put those two things together in my head.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Anyway,
talented.
All right. Well, we're gonna hit some DVDs. Mark, chime in if there's anything you want to say at some point, even if it's not about DVDs or Blu-rays. Just if you want to chime in and talk about lunch. Whatever.
Oh, wait a second. There was some cake
here we go.
in the kitchen.
It's in there.
Can I have some of that cake?
You killed the cake, dude. There's ice cream in the refrigerator.
I can't kill the cake. There's like 3/4 of it still there.
And even chocolate milk.
You're on the wireless mic.
I'm on the wireless mic, so I could go get cake.
Wade,
would you like a piece of cake?
You can take the mic with you and talk about the cake.
Wade, I will get you a piece of cake if you'd like one.
I don't even. What kind of cake is it?
Chocolate.
It's like a bundt
pound
cake.
Bundt cake, chocolate bundt cake. Yeah.
Tim, would you like a piece of chocolate?
No.
Wade, would you
the
like
missing
ice cream?
cake. Guess where the missing cake went? So
Wade, would you like ice cream with the chocolate cake?
Vanilla.
No. I'll just take the
Now, can I talk while I'm getting the cake?
Sure, you can.
Even though I can't see what you're doing.
That's okay.
Or hear what you're doing.
Yeah, that's
Nor
fine.
care what you're doing.
We may
Just
kill
leave.
your mic, but
Just
you know.
leave.
15
gonna
seconds in the microwave. It's much better. 15 seconds.
Really?
In the microwave.
Gonna hit a few PBS docs here. PBS titles. First is a Ken Burns presents, not a Ken Burns doc, but a Ken Burns presents on the Mayo Clinic. If you know, I know that sounds really dull and boring and dry. Oh, PBS and Mayo Clinic, but you need to know about this. The Mayo Clinic started in 1883. And as a very small kind of Catholic operation, and has grown to be one of the most essential medical operations in the world. And what they do at the Mayo Clinic is astonishing. They are on the cutting edge of so much stuff, and it's unbelievable what we would not have in the world of medicine if not for the Mayo Clinic. Really interesting, so much more interesting than you would actually expect. The Fred Rogers documentary is almost certainly going to win the Oscar, unless some of the other things that I've seen recently do it. Like, for example, On Her Shoulders is a doc that I'm talking about on Film Week on Friday, which is all about Nadia, the Nobel Peace Prize winning Iraqi who has become kind of the voice of refugees. That may really give it a run for its money. But anyway, Mr. Rogers, It's You I Like is not that documentary, but it is a PBS kind of a complimentary look at Fred Rogers that should be viewed along with it. There's a lot of stuff here that's not in the other one, and if you really kind of want to get your Fred Rogers on, you should.
This cake is good.
Oh, there we go. Just ruins the moment.
He's in the kitchen.
Ruins the moment.
That's weird.
So anyway, Mr. Rogers, It's You I Like from PBS is really wonderful. It complements the other doc. Basquiat, Rage to Riches from American Masters. So beautiful.
So just there are 3 or 4 films about him, and it's interesting that each one of them insinuates new material into the basket of knowledge about him. Radiant Child is another one, and that one is so good.
It's really, really good, and it's amazing for someone who died so young. How much there is to say. Mm-hmm. How much life he lived compressed into just a few incredible years. Really, really, really very moving and fascinating, and it goes along with all of these other docs about that moment and that movement. Everyone who kind of orbited Andy Warhol at that point in time.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
But particularly at the period in my dad took me to New York in 1978. Kind of ridiculously inappropriate. Picked me up one day in high school. This is my dad. I think I'm 16 years old. Dad comes by. Come on, boy. This is my dad. Come on, boy. Jumped in the car with my dad. Next thing I know, it's 36 hours later, we're in Manhattan. And I'm like, Mom is going to kill you, dude. You can't do stuff like this. Do you want to go or don't you? My dad, Basquiat was putting all of those little stickers all over town, and my dad was like, that's this kid. That's this little, because he knew all these people.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is amazing. My dad got me a gig, our band a gig at CBGB's.
Oh, no kidding.
We played at CBGB's, which was insane.
That's great.
My dad took me to Studio 54, which is like incredibly inappropriate. Just wrong. He did all this kind of stuff for me. But yeah, he introduced me to Basquiat. And this is like 1978. And this was all just happening right then. That little band that he was in. And all of that stuff is in that movie. It's just so amazing.
And like Keith Haring is another one from
Keith
that
Haring,
moment, right? Yeah. All these guys died young. And it's all so interesting to me. And especially here in L.A., if you go down to the...
Mocha?
To Mocha, and then also to the Broad.
The Broad, yeah.
There's a lot of they have a lot of there's Basquiat and there's Haring, and they have all those guys there it's kind of in the Warhol wing, but it's just an amazing moment in time. Anyway, this
enough to have made at least 3 films about him and his work. Yeah.
Basquiat, Rage to Riches, the American Masters and BBC co-production is really, really great. Dark Money is a doc I talked about on Film Week some weeks ago, and it's really good with a caveat. Now, Dark Money is all about the dark money in politics, the money that you can't trace, and the money that it kind of floats through the cracks and slips past all the legislation.
People for the choice of having a choice when you don't have a choice.
Yeah, there you go. It's a good doc, however. It kind of doesn't go deep enough, and it doesn't really answer some of the nagging questions, which is like they scratch the surface on the subject of money that just gets spent and nobody actually knows where it comes from. Like there's a billboard, and it just says a thing, and if you go to the billboard company and go, who put that billboard up? I don't know. A guy came in with a suitcase full of cash, and we got a phone number, we got nothing. You don't know. Or whisper campaigns and things. There's a lot of stuff that it sort of doesn't address and doesn't get to the root of. But what it does touch on is very, very interesting. So it's sort of a beginning, but not an end.
It's interesting as we point ourselves at the election in 19 days, 15 days?
No, something like that.
So November the 6th, whatever the hell that is. So yeah, watch that and then think about who you're going to vote for.
This is good. Bye. Anyway, and then the last one here, as I eat cake, my goodness, is a BBC production for PBS, The Amazing Human Body, which, again, sounds like a really boring thing, but it's not because it's done by the BBC. When the BBC does ordinary stuff, they make it extraordinary. So anyway, this is I guess this is anatomy and physiology for people that never took anatomy and physiology. Anyway, it really is very interesting. Lots of really high, cutting-edge special effects and digital effects here that basically explain everything you need to know about how your body works and what you should be eating and how you should be exercising and all this kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting, and it's an education.
I should have watched that. I should have watched that one.
The Amazing Human Body. Explore the everyday miracles that keep you alive.
Because my body doesn't feel amazing.
At all. You get to a certain age.
Yeah, the irritating human body. When you pass 45, oh my God, depressing human body. I can allow so many things I could say.
Yeah, but Tim's doing chin-ups.
Yeah. It's because the rest of my body's falling apart. My arms still work. And that's all I got.
All righty. Let's talk about some. You know what? Hold on.
Are we going to new movie?
Yeah, let's do new movies, but let me just hit a couple other things here real quickly. As long as I'm just on the, we're going to come back to docs later, but want to also make mention of the Smithsonian channel. This just fits in with PBS stuff. Smithsonian channel, The Real Story, which of course takes topics of movies and then explores the real REAL story behind the real story REEL. This is the Da Vinci Code. Keep in mind, nothing in the Da Vinci Code is in any way historical or accurate, but this uses the title to sort of say, well, let's at least go and look into Da Vinci and if he really did leave clues in his paintings or if not, and is there a chance that Jesus might have had children? And all of the questions that the movie raises, they explore the reality behind them, which is considerably far less sensational than the book or the movie pretend. But it's still interesting, and you get to listen to a lot of really interesting professors and experts and scholars go into some really fascinating tangents. So, The Real Story, REAL, The Da Vinci Code from Smithsonian Channel. All right, new movies.
A little bit of new movies. Yeah. Blu-ray and digital right here. We have ourselves a film called I Am Vengeance. This is a little British film that is just so ridiculously... this is a film... that, but for the fact that it wasn't made in 1985, might have been a cool movie in 1985. Guy comes home, his best friend's been killed by some people. He comes home from the war. Best friend's been killed by some people. He's going to go and find out what happened to his best friend. So he just starts chopping and socking and punching and kicking and killing his way through, all the little local British village gangsters. That's maybe an interesting thing about it. It's not a city movie. It's a little local village. But instead of being like, I don't know, Straw Dogs.
Yeah.
Get Carter, the good one with Michael Caine. Michael Caine, should be there. We should be there with this movie, only present day. But no, it's just this guy with this snarl on his face making speeches before he engages in these fairly clumsy sort of unrealistic fight scenes. And I don't know. There's a spot for these still.
John Wick.
There you go.
Yeah.
Love John Wick.
But how do you blow this though? This is not that hard, man.
Taken.
Yeah.
A lot of those like vengeance movies.
Yeah, it's just not that hard, but they really kind of jacked it.
Screwed up Death Wish.
Yeah.
The Bruce Willis Death Wish.
Yeah. Which doesn't make any sense. And one of the things they blew, they hired this guy's named Stu Bennett. Stu was one of those kind of I don't know if it's actually UFC, but one of those fighting organizations. He's one of those guys. Got the body, can throw the punches, all that. Can't act. So, not going to work.
An interesting take on that story is Harry Brown. Remember Harry Brown with Michael Caine?
Yes.
It's like the vengeance story from The Pensioner.
I love Harry Brown. You know what? Harry Brown is really, because Harry Brown takes something that should be a totally predictable, just conventional revenge story, but it makes it deeper because it just steps away. It doesn't try to give you too much. Harry is an old pensioner, and he lives in that area. Right, and Michael Caine just gets to work with such wonders with that, and it's so beautifully shot, and it's so sensitively directed. I love that movie.
Kind of moving. Got one?
Yeah, Mamma Mia, here we go again. Look, so I'm sorry, Mark. Did you see this by chance?
I saw it.
The first one was plenty.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had my fill.
Okay, so here's the deal. The first Mamma Mia, which I don't remember if I saw with you guys, but my reaction to the first Mamma Mia was that for about 15, 20 minutes. I was staring at the screen with my jaw in my lap. I just could not believe that they were doing this, that Pierce Brosnan was letting it all hang out like that these people were just basically humiliating themselves before the world. And I love ABBA. I do. I love ABBA. But I couldn't believe that I was watching what I was watching. And then, you know what? Stockholm Syndrome set in, and I just kind of gave into it, and I wound up having a really good time. Not liking myself for it very much. I'm still quite humiliated that I allowed myself to do that. But I just kind of went with it, and I had a good time. This is kind of more of the same. I don't know why we needed this movie, except for the fact that there were a whole lot of ABBA songs that they couldn't shoehorn into the first one. So.
They're B-sides for a reason. Jesus.
So anyway, and yeah, it's, not really. There's sort of no point to this. It goes back in time, and it doesn't really make sense because they're like time overlaps in this thing in a way that doesn't really work.
Yeah, it's a cheaty movie. For one thing, okay, I let everything happen in Mamma Mia slide. I let the fact that Pierce can't dance or sing.
Lily James,
she's lovely.
Is lovely.
Well, yes. in the movie, I let the fact that Pierce cannot dance or sing. That most of those people couldn't dance or sing. I let all of that slide. Meryl can sing.
Yeah.
Okay, now
but she's hardly in this.
She's hardly in this. Yeah. You knew you were making Mamma Mia too. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take some dance lessons.
Yeah.
Let's get a singing. Let's get a singing coach in here.
Yeah.
6 months ago. Let's fix that problem from the first movie. But no. Pierce is still clod hopping around this movie like he did in the first movie, and he doesn't find a note ever.
But boy, let me tell you, Cher embarrasses the hell out of herself. Yeah. This is the sing-along edition in 4K Ultra HD, so it's really, really lossless. So the audio, you can hear every broken note and bad note that everyone sings perfectly, perfect pitch. And the sing-along version, that's so that you can embarrass yourself at the same time. So sing along, invite friends. It'll be great. There's extras on here. It's mostly EPK stuff. There's just interviews and featurettes and not much that's really all that interesting. There's a Today Show interview with Cher and Judy Kramer that is not that great. But you know what? Look, if you like the first one, I guess you'll probably tolerate this one.
Yeah. This was good. The Spy Who Dumped Me. I really enjoyed this movie. The
good double feature with Melissa McCarthy Spy.
The Spy movie, right? Yeah. Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon. They're just so good in this movie. So you got these two girls, regular girls, living lives that are not particularly interesting and exciting. Mila Kunis has an ex-boyfriend played by Justin. Justin shows up at her apartment. All kinds of crazy stuff goes down, and she finds out he's a spy. There's some people trying to kill him. It's a thing that has to happen. It doesn't really matter about any of this crap. It's all pointless. It's just to set up these two girls getting to go play spy. And what turns out is that not only are they kind of good at this, they're kind of really good at this.
Yeah.
They got to build their confidence a little bit. And Kate McKinnon is so great in this because she is just balls out in this movie. She's like, what the hell? Of course we're going to do this. Why would we not go do this? And little by little, they get better and better. And before you know it, they're walking around in those hills in those little short cocktail dresses. And they've got those guns and they're killing spies left and right. And what I like is the boys in this movie, because there are lots of handsome men with great jawbones in this movie. They let the girls have it. They get themselves smacked around and killed around. They play the butt of all the jokes, and they let the girls have it. Way to go, boys. Let the girls do it, and they are fantastic in this movie. Fun. Full of all kinds of crap, by the way. The making of, you name it, is on this DVD.
And that is 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Good Favour is an interesting film that was at Toronto. It is not on Blu-ray. It's only on DVD. This is from Rebecca Daly, who is a very, very promising director. This is a really interesting film. It takes place in this Eastern European religious community, and there's a stranger who enters the community and has to be sort of absorbed into their rituals. But the question is, where does this guy come from, and what's his background? How's it going to affect everybody? It's one of those, kind of more. It's like there's a certain indie genre that's a little bit like a fish out of water movie, but it's not really fish out of water. It's the mysterious intruder, right? It's the alien, the outsider who's penetrating the womb of this community. And those things happen every once in a while. They're usually horror films, but every once in a while they are really, really interesting kind of psychological dramas, and this one is in particular. It's called Good Favour, Favour, the English spelling, by Rebecca Daly. Look out for her. She is really, really interesting.
This movie, I'm so disappointed in this movie. It's called Snake Outta Compton. and the logo is set up, just like Straight Outta Compton. The whole thing, you get set down in the hood. And you got this little hip hop group, and they're roaming around. They're about to sign, about to do their deal. It's kind of sort of Fridays-esque or something like that. Yeah. And then suddenly there's a giant snake in Compton.
From the plane, right?
Yeah,
Snakes on a plane.
Apparently, one snake ate all the other snakes, and it just became one big ass snake. And I just wish this was funny. It's not. It's just bad and terrible and not funny. It comes for some reason with a director's commentary, because you know what? There's no reason for you to really talk about this.
You know what? It seems almost Corman-esque in the way that you hear the title and you see the cover art. And you're in.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter what the movie is. You're intrigued, and you might rent it on that basis.
If it had been just as dumb but only funny, what are you gonna do?
So it was about a year ago that we interviewed Larry Cohen on this show. Larry Cohen, legendary exploitation filmmaker, guy who did everything from Q, the Winged Serpent, to Black Caesar, to on and on and on and on. Wrote Phone Booth, which Joel Schumacher directed, which he'd originally written for Hitchcock. I mean, Larry Cohen is a legend.
Larry Cohen created, at the inception of broadcast television, a half a dozen original television programs before he got out of the 60s.
Yep.
So that was Larry Cohen. Before he ever directed a feature film, he had like 9 television series under his belt.
Yeah, no, Larry Cohen is the man. And the documentary that we interviewed him for at the time was making the festival rounds, called King Cohen. And it is now out on Blu-ray, and what a terrific doc it is! It really is. If you are a fan of exploitation films, of everything that he did to sort of revolutionize the movies, you got to see this. Tons of special features on here, and other people interviews that they didn't use in the thing, and raw footage. Raw interview footage that it just goes on and on and on. I mean, there's hours of stuff here, and it is really great. I wish the doc were a little longer. It's about an hour long, but it's long enough to make its point. And everybody is interviewed here. I mean, you name it. Anyone who is still alive who has worked with him, they are on here. From recent people like Tara Reid, Eric Roberts, to Martin Scorsese, Fred Williamson, J.J. Abrams, Yaphet Kotto. FX Feeney, our colleague, our good friend FX Feeney shows up on here. Joe Dante, Robert Forster, on and on and on. Eric Bogosian, you name it. Tracy Lords. It's just fantastic. It's just all these people want to talk about Larry Cohen because they all worked with him. And it's great. Scorsese's stuff is really, really terrific. It's particularly good. And then we also have a movie that I am really, really fond of, and you have to see this on Blu-ray if you're going to see it at all. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's called Mountain, and it's narrated by Willem Dafoe, and it's not so much a documentary as it is a visual essay. Mark, did you see this?
I did not.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
I saw that one.
You would enjoy this.
Yeah.
It's the poetry of mountains, and it's some of the most beautiful photography you have ever seen. It's like the history of human beings and mountains, with just this gorgeous narration. Presumably taken from the book that this is based on, and you see archival footage of mountaineering and archival footage of mountain climbers and mountain explorers, all the way to extreme sports and extreme mountain climbing stuff nowadays, and it's all unbelievably beautifully photographed, and it's so well curated. And Willem Dafoe does the voiceover narration, and it is just it's a wonderful journey. The role of mountains in our lives and in our civilization, both symbolically and literally, it's really fantastic. It is called Mountain, A Breathtaking Voyage into the Extreme. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's absolutely great. And it even has a few special features on the making of Mountain, so they show you how they got all that great footage. And there's a conversation with the director, Jennifer Peetham, who's also really good. We're going to be hearing a lot from her. And Q&A with writer Robert McFarland and mountaineer Matthew Dilmagard Thornton. So Blu-ray of Mountain, Willem Dafoe narrator.
of The Source, a Chuck Workman film. This basically is a film about the beat poets from back in the day. Nice. You're into beat poetry. You're not into beat poetry. You happen to be into guys Kerouac and Ginsberg and all that. All those people. You got Johnny Depp reading Kerouac, Turturro reading Ginsberg, Dennis Hopper reading Burroughs, Dennis Hopper reading William Burroughs. There's something so correct about that. It's almost. You could almost swap those two guys out.
Absolutely.
That's just wonderful. And it's beautifully done in a Chuck Workman-like way. He's a hell of an editor. He's primarily an editor, Chuck, which is why this film works so well. Yeah. But you just got to kind of be into it a little bit. So, but it's neat. I like it a lot. Not a lot on here, though. That's, I wish there were more. Kino Lorber.
That Summer is an interesting doc, but it's more interesting if you're a Grey Gardens fan. So this is the deal with this. Before there was Grey Gardens, there was a dry run on telling that story about these wacky Kennedy cousins. And the Maisleys were not the first ones to go and explore, Edith and Edie to kind of get inside their bizarre world. Yeah. There was Peter Beard, who is a very famous photographer. Peter Beard was actually the first person to go there in 1972 and sort of take a look at them. And now all of this footage that he shot at the time has been put together by Goran Olsen, who's a documentarian, and this is kind of a precursor to Grey Gardens. This is like what the dry run was, and it's interesting primarily if you've seen Grey Gardens and you know where Grey Gardens picks up and what it deals with. This is like the prequel to it, and it has certain contextual value in that sense. Apart from that, I don't know how interesting it necessarily is because you don't have the context. So. I almost feel like, as interesting as this is, it should be an extra on Grey Gardens and not its own independent movie. But there it is. It's called That Summer.
Whitney on Blu-ray and digital. This so movie, sad. This is we see these movies, right? The one about Amy Winehouse, and there have been half a dozen of these films. This one is really amazing in that it's directed by Kevin McDonald. Not exactly his bailiwick per se. Yeah,
I saw this at the Deauville Film Festival.
This was at Deauville? Right.
Yes.
Oh, it's revealing.
Very good.
Deeply revealing
about
upsetting. Whitney. In the black community in particular, we've always had these sort of things that we thought that we felt that we knew about Whitney, that were like our things that we knew about Whitney, and we've always made these associations. Whitney and Bobby. Yeah. And we were always like, well, Bobby is Bobby. Bobby did it to Whitney. Bobby, she got with Bobby. Bobby's from the ghetto, and he ghettoed her up, and now she's dead. Look what Bobby did. That's not what happened. No. Now Whitney was from a tough place from day one. Yeah. And she was a little ghetto girl from day one. She was hard, and she was pretending not to be hard. Yeah. And there's a moment when the black community turned against her, and it baffled her because she's thinking to herself, I'm the blackest girl I know. And the black community turned against me, and she got mean and mad about it. Yeah. And ultimately, a lot of people failed her. Her dad failed her. Dude, I hate it when the dads failed. Yeah. Her dad sued her for $100 million. How do you, even if you think your daughter owes you $100 million, how do you sue him for it? Yeah. And by the way, your daughter doesn't owe you $100 million, you asshole. Yeah. And even Bobby ultimately, didn't, he just didn't have the backbone to handle the fact that she became a much, much, much bigger star than him. Yeah. And wanted her to go around being called Mrs. Bobby Brown. That's retarded.
People failed her.
Yeah, people failed.
The people who she needed most failed her.
And at the end of the day, she was just this girl, and then we know what happens with Bobby, Christina, and all of that. Oh my gosh, it's just so. Whitney Houston was a gigantic icon. Yeah. When she sung that anthem, you can still watch that, and it'll chill to the back of your neck. Anyway, wonderful doc.
It is, and that was a major part of the doc, the whole the behind the scenes of the making of that national anthem and how she decided to sing it in a very interesting way that scared some people, but she's Whitney, she can do it. She comes out, she sings it in that unique way that only she could, and it winds up being this iconic moment. And the thing that, to what you say, to what you were talking about, is that she was really doomed from the start. Her family introducing her to drugs very early.
Yeah, her big brothers. And they're in the film, and they say so. It's not calling anybody out. Her big brother says, Whitney was rolling around with me when she was 13 years old, and I was doing hardcore drugs, and she did too.
That's right. Yeah. So that was, to me, that was the revelation, as you alluded to, which is, it's not that Bobby Brown came in there and corrupted her is that Bobby Brown came in there and just completed the journey in a way. The journey that had started when she was a kid, and her family was the one who was corrupting her.
Yeah, and then of course there's a big reveal, which I guess we'll say for people to watch the movie, about what happened to Whitney.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So very good, very well worthwhile.
And there's also Generation Wealth from Lauren Greenfield. Lauren Greenfield was one of the filmmakers of The Queen of Versailles, which is in its own right a fascinating documentary, and kind of picks up on many of those same themes in Generation Wealth, which is ostentatious living and the way in which consumer society and consumer spending and materialism has gone up a notch in the social media era, in the internet era, and what it means, and the way that narcissism in particular has become a thing and kind of an inescapable part of everyone's life now that you can broadcast yourself and you can make yourself a commodity. Anyway, it's a really, really upsetting movie.
There's a thing she does in that movie that bugs me, though. I don't know. Did you notice this?
Well, specifically.
Well, she starts talking, focusing on a lot about how these people make their money. So, like some people who are willing to do this and willing to do that. Now, she doesn't look at Paul Allen, who recently died,
right?
Or any number of folks who make a lot of money and they have the exact same avarice, but they happen to do it with something that requires an MBA, or a degree in computer science. Right. She doesn't point the same sort of accusing finger at them that she does at, say, some strippers.
True.
There's some strippers in that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, why are we hating on these strippers now? What's up with that?
It does.
When we're not going to be hating on homie over here, Justin Skillick, who started, who was selling the pharmaceuticals for marking things that cost a penny up to $1,000. She doesn't point a finger at him.
It is selective.
Yeah.
It is very selective, and it is occasionally judgmental. And I think perhaps the reason that didn't bother me quite so much is because the broader strokes, the sort of the bigger picture, the bigger statement that she's calling out, I think is an important one to think about. I don't know that she supports it quite as well as she should. As like you say, she is selective and she's a little bit judgmental about certain people as opposed to others. But it still made me ask the question. And I'm still asking the question, and I think we may very rightly draw different conclusions, but it's still a question I think everybody should be asking.
It's an interesting thing.
Generation Wealth, which was a thing at Sundance. It's out now on DVD from Amazon Studios and Lionsgate.
It's interesting. It seems to me that we go through one of these periods about every 2 or 3 generations. You'll remember. You're old enough to remember our period with the Wall Street. Everybody was going to make a millionaire. Everybody was getting an MBA. Everybody was going to, it was like a thing, like that. We have these moments, and they can be sort of interesting. A dangerous idea: eugenics, genetics, and the American dream. This is really eugenics and these sort of ideas that seem very scientific and every now and again, the few generations, it comes back and it's wrapped in another set of scientific languages, but it's the same thing every time. Every time. And this documentary explores it quite in-depthly. And what I like about it is it calls it out as being the same thing every time. It doesn't sort of try to let it slide by as science, because it's not.
Got a couple here from Facets. Really terrific documentaries, both of them very personal and very, very effective. Reunification by Alvin Tsang is a super, super personal look at Alvin Tsang's own family's immigration legacy, and this goes all the way back to Hong Kong to Los Angeles, and the extended diaspora of his family, and all the personal issues that transpired as a result. And as a result, because he gets so personal, it winds up being very general at the same time. It winds being something where you see yourself in it, you see your friends in it, you see all kinds of things in it. It's actually a very, very effective way of taking the personal and making it general and making it public. It's really, really good. And he put a lot of work into this. I mean, it was made in 2016, but it feels like it went on for years to actually plan and execute this. The other one is Shelter Song, Art from the Homeless by Joan Laskoff, who goes into homeless communities in Skid Row and finds that there's some amazing art there and some amazing artists. And because we judge them because they haven't sort of met the threshold that we expect from others in the society who are quote-unquote artists, their art is not validated. And nonetheless, we break through that and we find that there's some amazing art going on, and that these people oftentimes have more to say than those who have so much. So it's really it's a nice perspective change.
Yeah, man. This one here, Our Daily Bread, a documentary about where our food comes from, not just in the United States, but frankly in Europe.
This is one of those docs like Food Inc.
that
makes me not want to eat anymore.
Well, and it manages to do it without a whole lot of commentary. It's just showing you. With scale and widescreen, these gigantic pig farms. And for that matter, wheat fields, and it just sort of shows you how this all works. These conveyor belts, and that conveyor belt thing, man. Yeah. Oh man, that's sort of chilling. The agrochemicals used, and what they do, and how they work their way through the system, and end up in your grocery store. It's sort of shocking. I mean, it's not since who was
King Corn is one.
Oh, King Corn is another one too.
Terrific one, yeah.
You know,
Food Inc. was the one that really just did me in.
So I don't know. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to just dig up a hole in your backyard and start planting seeds and grow your own crap.
Well, that's part of the advantage of living, by the way. Although the doc definitely calls out some European practices, but generally speaking, in Europe they do it so much better than in America. I mean, in Europe, generally speaking, they're not into the high fructose corn syrup. There is a list of pesticides and chemicals that are used in American food that are illegal in Europe. Can't use them. And it's funny because like I've been living in Paris for a while now. It's like I eat more sugar, I eat later, and yet I'm thinner.
There you go.
I come back here. Now, some of that is because I'm trying to. I come back here, of course. Some of it is because I'm trying to eat.
Come back here, you inhale the air, and you've gained 10 pounds.
Well, what I do is I come back and I eat too much because I'm trying to eat at all my favorite restaurants the time I have. But that said, here you just feel the heaviness and the chemicals, and just the artificiality of the food. Now, of course, if you go to great restaurants in L.A., which there are surprisingly many, you'll get a great meal.
Yeah.
But the baseline meal in Europe is way healthier, way less chemicals than the baseline meal in America.
The food that ordinary people can still eat. The food that an ordinary guy living in wherever, Santa Monica can afford to eat, or not those fancy restaurants that we're talking about.
That's right.
But the food that ordinary people can eat in Europe is still good food. There is no bad food unless you have to go find the bad food.
Yes.
True.
If you want to go to the supermarket,
gotta make an effort.
You can find Oreo cookies in the supermarket in France. They have Oreo cookies there.
Say the people who just had cake.
We just had cake. Actually, I came back for Tim's cake. My flight leaves for Paris tonight. I've had Tim's cake. I'm ready to go.
Got a couple here from Oscilloscope. The King by Eugene Jarecki. Eugene Jarecki has won a couple of awards at Sundance, and The King is a really, really interesting doc. He goes and he grabs Elvis Presley's 1963 Rolls Royce. And
that one.
He goes on a road trip with Elvis's Rolls, and he rolls through America to look into the influence, the residual impact of Elvis Presley on America in every conceivable way. And it's so interesting, and it's both kind of heartwarming and disheartening at the same time.
And pointed, too.
Very pointed.
Chuck D is in that movie.
Yeah.
Elvis was a hero to most.
Chuck,
that was in that song.
Yeah.
And he talks about how, to the black community, Elvis was a usurper, generally speaking.
That's why why Elvis became Elvis. They wanted a white guy who could sing like a black guy.
Yeah, and could move his hips and it worked.
Yeah, it did indeed.
I disagree with Chuck about that, by the way. But it is interesting that they allowed that voice to be put in that movie.
Oh, it's fascinating, and because it is a well-made documentary by a great documentarian, it doesn't make your mind up for you. It just hands you a lot of really interesting information, and you can draw a lot of different conclusions from it. Wild Combination is a really, really interesting doc about somebody I had never heard of. Matt Wolf is the documentarian. This is on Blu-ray from Oscilloscope, and the subject is Arthur Russell, who died of AIDS in 1993, but until then was a significant composer, really a significant kind of genre-splitting avant-garde composer. And this revisits his legacy, interviews the people that worked with him, the people that were influenced by him. You even have like Philip Glass is interviewed in here, and it's a look not just at the man and the music itself, but the way that we treat particular kinds of artists and a particular kind of music, and especially the way that music was treated at that time. Very interesting doc called Wild Combination.
Dust to Glory is a Dana Brown film. Dana Brown, of course, is one of the premier sort of sports, not extreme sports, but classic sports documentarians. Step Into Liquid and all that kind of stuff. His father goes back even before him. This one is about dirt biking and sort of those 4-wheel drive trucks and all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty film. You got to kind of be into the stuff, and I'm not really sure that the stuff is a sport, to be honest with you, like surfing. Or some of the other things. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who's actually competing? It seems to me that the trucks, it's more about engineering than it is anything else. But whatever. Folks love this kind of stuff, particularly across certain swaths of the country.
Yeah.
And the cinematography and the way it's sort of produced, of course, is done in that sort of classic Dana Brown way. Lots of excitement and music, and that sort of third-person narration voice floating over everything is kind of cool. So check it out. Bonus features, Bruce Brown's last interview. Bruce, of course, was Dana's father.
Yeah.
Made all those wonderful surfing movies way back in the day. All right, lovely.
Records Collecting Dust 2 is a... Okay, whose phone? Whose phone? Is that Tim's? Tim, is that your phone?
Yeah,
Tim's
Skype.
phone.
It's my mom.
Oh, it's your phone.
My mom is Skyping me.
It's okay. That's okay.
That's okay. Keep going. Keep going.
I was recording.
I was gonna land a Mark. I was hoping it was Mark's phone, so I could
It's my mom.
chew him out. Okay.
Yo, mom. We're doing a podcast. Call me back. Yeah, ma.
Records Collecting Dust 2 is a documentary by Jason Blackmore, which is kind of more of what you got in Records Collecting Dust 1, which if you didn't see that, you probably should have. I missed Records Collecting Dust 1, but the whole point of this is that it's all about the musicians and music that has, and kind of following up on what we were talking about with Arthur Russell, music and musicians that fell between the cracks over the years.
Yeah.
And so what this is in the 1980s. The first one dealt with the 1970s. This is the 1980s, and it covers everything from punk to all kinds of other kind of fringy avant-garde music forms. And they just interview all of these people who have, who were a flash in the pan for a minute and a half, and then went away. And it's all really, really interesting. How music changed their lives, how their lives were destroyed by music, et cetera, et cetera. It's really, it's quite interesting. And I hope they do more of these because there's a lot of ground to cover on this subject.
Mm.
And then also a cool little thing called Sila and the Gatekeepers of the Antarctic. This is by a filmmaker by the name Karina Gamma, who is a really interesting filmmaker, and will have a lot of other interesting points of view to share with us. But the idea of Sila, S-I-L-A, is a kind of an ecological concept. It's an ecological concept that combines things that are sort of existential and things that are scientific. It's about balance in nature, and this is all about about Inuit hunters who live above the Arctic Circle, and primarily in Greenland, and the way that they are dealing with climate change, the way that they are dealing with things that their ancestors never had to deal with before, and it's looking at weather as almost like I don't want to say a religious phenomenon, but something that certainly has greater cultural relevance for them than just weather. Weather is meaningful. Weather is representative, and even if you don't believe that the gods create weather, you believe that weather has some greater existential connection to our being, and the way that we respond to it is significant. So anyway, I hope that doesn't sound too kind of esoteric, but Sila and the Gatekeepers of the Arctic, very, very interesting, and some of the only footage I've ever seen of Greenland, to be honest.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Greenland, by the way, isn't
No, it's
green.
Not. It's not.
No.
Iceland isn't that
No.
icy.
Yeah.
As we learned from the player.
Yeah.
That's all that stuff that Greta Skaki says in the player about Greenland and Iceland. And then last one here is Full Circle, Circle of Dust, a fixed documentary. This is the birth, death, and rebirth of Circle of Dust, which meant nothing to me because I just don't know, industrial rock. Anyway, apparently Circle of Dust is this industrial rock thing, and you get a look at this band and what they've done, and this includes some of their bootlegs and music videos, and none of this really worked for me in any way. I kind of barely paid attention to this in the background, but if this is meaningful to you, if I say Circle of Dust and you go, no way, dude, then it'll be obviously something that's important to you. But anyway, The Birth, Death, and Rebirth of Circle of Dust, Full Circle, a Fixed documentary by the collective Fixed, I guess, F-I-X-T. All right, let's do TV.
Actually, we got one really interesting doc over there.
Here's the thing: I'm as the only Jew in the room.
That isn't true.
Documentary called Regina.
Half Jewish.
Now, who's half Jewish?
Me.
Really?
Yes.
Then I'll do half of it. You do the other.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So this is a documentary called Regina, and it is about Regina Jonas, who was the world's first female rabbi. Now, it's a fascinating documentary because you're telling the story of a woman, a person. There is only one photograph of this woman existing. And even though there's only one photograph of her, the documentary maker does an amazing job not only telling you about Regina's life, but also setting the scene for what Berlin was like pre-war and during the war, and how Regina Jonas wound up becoming a rabbi, and the resistance that she met, the fact that she wound up going to a concentration camp, where I will not tell you what happened. So not only do you have another concentration camp story, but this particular concentration camp story is of the world's first female rabbi. And what's interesting is that the narration was by actress Rachel Weisz.
Yeah.
Weisz? Rachel Weisz?
Weisz.
Sure.
Edelweiss. And the reason why she does it was because when this documentary ran into financial problems, Rachel's father, who knew the director,
Kicked in some cash?
Wow.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
And Rachel.
So the father knew Diana Grew, who's the director of the film.
That's great.
He kicks in some cash, gets the film done. Rachel does the voice for it, and it's quite remarkable in that sense. So if you want to, it's funny how there's always another story about the Holocaust. Just when you think you've seen enough of the Holocaust, and I'm Jewish, there's always another story that is just so fascinating.
Well, that's fascinating.
She's endless.
Ordained in 1935. She was, and you know, I mean, this is just a big deal all by itself.
Yeah.
It's just all the hell there is to it. And then to manage to cull together that archival footage of various different sorts of things, but nothing from her.
Fantastic.
And to tell her whole story, oh man, it's just beautiful.
It's remarkable.
The director, though, she directed a movie. Her name's Diana Grew or something like that, G-R-O-O, like that. She directed a movie called Vespa. 8, 9, 10 years ago or something like that. It was just this cutest little movie you ever saw about this little boy on this Vespa riding around and everything he did. It's kind of like the Bicycle Thief.
I did not see that.
Only on Vespa. It's the neatest thing. TV?
TV. I'm going to hit a couple of Angelica Houston TV movies first. They are both from Mill Creek. Family Pictures is a rather melodramatic but very, very well-intentioned adaptation of a Sue Miller novel about a family about a family dealing with an autistic. In this case, the brother. Angelica Houston is the sister, looking back on how her brother, who's autistic, impacted the family. And it's a very honest and touching look at autism. A little bit too sentimental, but it's solid. And then the other one, which is more interesting, is Buffalo Girls. It's based on the Larry McMurtry novel. This is all about Calamity Jane. Angelica Houston plays Calamity Jane. Everybody here is somebody playing somebody. Jack Palance plays Bartlebone, and Sam Elliott plays Wild Bill Hickok. Peter Coyote, for some reason, plays Buffalo Bill. That makes no sense at all. Russell Means is Sitting Bull. It's the casting is a little bit over the top, but it's fun. Angelica Houston's Calamity Jane, really, really good casting.
Black Sails I have here. I didn't watch a whole lot of Black Sails, but I do find it a fascinating sort of show because it's basically a prequel to Treasure Island.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Pirates of the Caribbean for TV.
Yeah, you know.
Kinda.
And you have all these sort of historical characters, historical figures, I suppose, Captain Vane, the governor, and all that kind of stuff. And then some made-up folks, Captain Flint, who's really the sort of principal character in this. So anyway, this is the complete collection of Black Sails, which is just a rip-roaring swashbuckler.
Sure
is what the heck it is. So you got seasons 1 through 4. All kinds of special features. If you haven't already seen it, this would be a great way just to catch up with this, and I like it because it takes you right through and lands you on a spot, and then you're done. Black Sails.
Hollywood's Best and Brightest. This is also from Mill Creek. This is a documentary TV series on just a lot of celebrities. This is like any like Biography or any of those other shows that just profile people. But there are a lot of good people profiled here. It's pretty generic, but there are 4 discs and 7 to 8 people per disc. So that's like 50-some major celebrities, everybody from Robert Redford to Julie Andrews to Goldie Hawn, Stallone and Schwarzenegger, Catherine Deneuve, Candice Bergen, Robert De Niro, Mel Gibson, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Kathleen Turner, it's Barbra Streisand, Diane Margaret. It goes on and on and on. It's great. Lots of stuff here. Just a kind of nice thing to throw on now and again if you just want to up your celebrity IQ.
Barry, Bill Hader's series, right? Season. Now, this is the interesting thing about this show. If somebody were to come to me, if I was some sort of powerful executive like Mark, and you come to me and you pitch this show, it's a show about this low-level hitman from the Midwest. He moves to L.A. to take out a mark and sort of stumbles into the theater arts scene and realizes that he has the acting bug. Yep. And he's still killing people, but he's also, studying acting. I would have, I'm sorry, I'd be like, yeah, no. But Bill Hader pitches it, Stephen Root is in it, and you know what? It's funny. Yeah. Totally implausible, makes no sense. But this is the kind of thing I mean. You look around and we know people. They're out. They got these TV shows they're pitching. People say, "Oh, that's not. It's not." There's no such thing as a bad idea for a television show. I can promise you, this is a bad idea for a television show, but you can make a good television show out of this bad idea for a television show. If you got Bill Hader and Stephen Root and some clever writers, you take the bad idea and you weave a pretty decent television program out of it, and they did. This is probably one of the top 2 or 3 new comedies that popped up this last season, and I would have ixnayed it. I wouldn't have made it. So, that's why I'm not a television executive, and Mark is.
You know what? This is pretty great. So the first release from VCI and MVD of Television's Lost Classics was some live television directed by Sidney Lumet. Yeah. Now we have Volume 2 with 4 rare pilots. These are series I never even heard of. I had no idea these even existed before, these pilots. 2 of them are shows that I never even heard of. The other 2 are shows I've heard of, but I didn't even know that these pilots had been created. So we have The Case of the Sure Thing. Never heard of that, which is okay. It's fine. It's not brilliant, but it's rare, and I guess that makes it unique. Then we also have Cool and Lamb, which is okay. Never heard of that either. Then we get interesting. Here we go. The Life of Riley. Do you know that? We've all heard of Life of Riley, but I don't know there was a TV show and a pilot. I know that. With Lon Chaney Jr. Lon Chaney Jr. was in that. And then the best one of all, is Narrow Wolf. There was, back in the 50s, a Narrow Wolf TV series planned and a pilot that featured no less than, Mark, are you ready for it?
17.
The Shat.
Oh, look at him.
William Shatner.
Look at that. The Shat. There he is.
He couldn't have been playing Nero, though.
No, he wasn't playing
Okay, good. Yeah, because he was a big one, yeah.
No, Kurt Kasner was Nero, but he's in it.
Yeah.
And who cares?
And looking young.
And looking good.
That's his hair.
And
that's his real hair. That's his actual hair.
That's what it looks like.
Recorded appearance of his
That's
hair.
what it looked like. That's what it looked like when it was real. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, outstanding, outstanding. The Affair Season 4, which is on Showtime. I never got into this version of The Affair. There was one, the Australian, that was kind of my version. But nevertheless, people like this. And kind of into it. If there is something I like about it, it's the cast. Love Dominic West, big fan of Mira Tierney and Joshua Jackson. Anyway, a few special features on this, character profiles and some whatnot. I suppose you just got to kind of be into the series to check it out.
A little bit of kind of a British TV. The 800 Words Season 3 Part 1 deals with an Australian family that has moved to New Zealand, and apparently that's a thing. If you've watched 800 Words, which can be very funny and very touching at the same time, it's a good show. But I have to believe that for once you're in Oceania, that the whole idea of people who move from New Zealand to Australia and back again, the Sam Neills and the Russell Crowes, that's a thing. And it's a little weird, and I guess a lot of the inside jokes are things that I'm going to miss, but nonetheless, it's a very, very fun show. It's beautifully shot. Gosh darn, it's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous place to shoot. Everything about New Zealand is completely unspeakably beautiful. So there it is. This is part 1 of season 3, 800 Words. Wonderful cast. I really keep hoping that some of these people will show up in movies here at some point because they're just fantastic actors. And then there is also Tunnel Vengeance, the 3rd season. With Clémence Poésie and Stephen Delane. This is on PBS, and it is a really, really, really cool British show. It's just a really rough-edged and tough thriller, and dealing with an Englishman and a French woman, and they have to team up and deal with all of the channel-oriented, channel crossing crime issues that keep arising. It's really great. It's really, really great. So just solid writing and really, really interesting direction. So that is Tunnel Vengeance, the complete third season. It's good stuff.
The folks who love I Love Lucy will enjoy I Married Joan, which preceded I Love Lucy. They overlapped a bit, but this actually preceded I Love Lucy, starting in 1952. They are effectively the same show. You have Joan Davis, who is the star of the show. She was a very well-known comedian and sort of radio commentary and radio comedian back at the time. Most folks don't remember her now because when I Love Lucy came along, it sort of obliterated all of this. But of course, folks will remember Jim Backus from Gilligan's Island, of course, voice of Mr. Magoo. Yeah. That's the guy who married Joan. Interestingly, this show ran for 3 seasons. Joan Davis produced this show under her own company's banner.
That's so impressive.
1952 to 1955. This radio comedian, not a lot of television exposure yet because there wasn't a lot of television, produced this show under her own banner. Also, interestingly, her own daughter played her sister on the show.
Okay, that's weird.
Which was kind of weird, but she had a baby fairly young. Jim Backus playing her husband. It was very dependent on physical comedy. I'm telling you, it's straight up I Love Lucy. Just either you remember it or don't. My mom always liked this more than I Love Lucy because she goes back to that generation. But most folks sort of forget it. But if you loved I Love Lucy, you're going to love I Married Joan. You just will. 10 complete episodes from season 1.
All right, and we're going to wrap the show out with some classic movie stuff. You know what, Mark? I'm going to let you. I am going to do you.
How do I know I've seen these movies?
Yeah, because you've seen them. Because these are all the. This is all from the Shout Select line. Shout Select has released these new movies, and you can tell us how much you love them because I know you've seen all of them because they're all awesome. And that's going to leave me for a minute to talk about Kino. Kino Lorber has released a few more studio classics. D.O.A., not the original, the Dennis Quaid, Meg Ryan remake.
Oh, 1980, when they were both still cute.
88.
Yeah.
When they were still cute. This is not great, but the idea still holds enough water. And Charlotte Rampling's in this, which is worth something. And they basically have 2 different audio commentaries, one each by each of the co-directors. Why isn't there one audio commentary with both co-directors? You'll have to listen to the audio commentaries. No. Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton do the separate commentaries. And then we also have Kazaam, starring Shaq.
Yeah.
You know what? You're just the way that you said that was like, yeah, I could do without that. I am going to defend the big guy. Because, you know what? Yes, he was not as good of an actor then as he is now. Yeah. Now Shaq is just straight up Oscar caliber stuff.
Yeah, now he never plays Shaq. He plays characters now. Grandpa, Uncle, what's his name? And that basketball.
Yeah. Look, I think Shaq playing a genie was brilliant casting. It's campy, it's corny, it's goofy. Yes, he's mugging like crazy, but it's hysterical. Come on, he's a genie. It's good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Will Smith's playing a genie now in Aladdin.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry.
Did you see that trailer?
No.
Yeah, it's not great,
is
it?
Horrible. It looks like so dark and scary. It's like and they're flying on a carpet.
I know. I'm worried. But nonetheless, Kazaam doesn't have me worried because I thoroughly enjoy this. No extras, but it's Shaq, and he's playing a genie. And then there is It's Pat, which was cute for a bit as a movie. Man, it really overstays its welcome.
Yeah.
And it's only 77 minutes long. And, man, they stretch those 77 minutes.
Well, that was during the whole Lorne Michaels, let's turn every SNL character into a movie thing.
And the only 3 that...
How about It's Pat?
The only 3 that didn't work is Ladies Man, It's Pat, and I don't think Stuart Little worked so much either.
You know what?
Remember Stuart Little?
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
Stuart Little.
Yeah.
Let me just say, Ladies Man, and I love those sketches, even though that movie does not work, everything...
the Ladies Man works, but the movie don't work.
Well, here's the thing. Tim Meadows is working his ass off in that movie to try to make you be interested in every single second that he's doing. And he is working hard. When that script is just laying on its face, and he owns that script because he wrote it.
Yeah.
But he's working every single second. The other thing is, Will Ferrell who plays just a small part in that thing as that latent guy, wrestler, man's support group guy.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell is a scream.
Yeah,
in Ladies' Man.
Particularly when you first see, because that's early. I mean, he plays that guy all the time now.
Yeah.
But back then, that was just so funny.
Anyway, it's Pat. Still funny in bits. There's about 21 and a half and maybe 4 seconds worth of really funny stuff in here, and the rest of it is just you're treading water. But still, it's a movie that has played a lot of midnight screenings around, and it has a certain following. So Julia Sweeney and Dave Foley in It's Pat, the movie.
Julia Sweeney, funnier than given credit for as a member of the deep
sure.
Saturday Night Live.
Sure.
Much funnier than she's given credit for.
All right.
Mark,
you want to talk about those?
What's happening now?
I can jump on.
I'm off my game, guys.
Okay,
Tim's hang on, I'm with you. Here we go.
Okay.
From Shout Select, a collector's edition version of Get Shorty, the great Get Shorty with John Travolta, Gene Hackman, Rene Russo, and Danny DeVito. I love this movie. Everybody loves this movie. Mostly because Scott Frank, the screenwriter, was smart enough to keep as much of the peppery, classic, clipped, funny Elmore Leonard dialogue as possible. And Barry Sonnenfeld, early in his career, he was such a visual stylist. He had a lot of fun with it. And it's a great film. And it's loaded up with extras, just like the Shout Factory, Shout Select stuff usually is. Audio commentary with Barry Sonnenfeld. There's a couple of featurettes. But really, it's just the film. I love Hackman in this. John Travolta, never better. And that doesn't say much at this point, because don't forget he played John Gotti recently.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Destroyed his career. Next from Shout Select, unfortunately, we have Dragnet with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks. Now, this is not the Tom Hanks who would become America's everyman in the new Jimmy Stewart. This is kind of before he earned that status. And the only thing I remember about this movie, which is on Blu-ray for the first time, is the song. I remember it's called City of Crime, as I remember it. And it was like Dan Aykroyd was rapping, and I remember watching the music video. Otherwise, the movie is just not good. So I would pass on Dragnet, but I would, this is the last Shout Select title of the week, I would do City Slickers. This City Slickers...
So holds up, doesn't it?
You know what?
I love this movie.
You know why? Because it was in that Lowell Gans, Babalu Gandel wheelhouse, right?
This is an Oscar-winning movie.
Salad years.
This is an Oscar-winning movie.
This movie made push-ups popular again.
That's right. Never forget that. Jack Palance. We need a moment like that on the Oscars again.
You know what? Okay, here's the thing. First of all, City Slickers is great. The Oscars, I'm sorry that it's over.
You know what? All the awards shows, they've all been hitting record lows. The Grammys, the American Music Awards, the People's Choice, all of them have been. The People's Choice Awards is getting record low ratings.
I will tell you this.
People's Choice Awards couldn't even win a People's Choice Award.
This year, there's a very good chance that A Star Is Born and Black Panther will both be nominated for Best Picture. And if you cannot get people to watch the Oscars on a year when two huge popular millennial hits get nominated for Best Picture,
I'm going to go out.
It's officially over.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Black Panther is going to get a lot of nominations, but it's not going to get nominated for Best Picture.
I think it is.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. You're right about all those sort of techie nominations. What it's not going to get are a number and perhaps any nominations in the top acting categories. I believe Michael, Michael B.
Jordan. Yeah.
I believe Michael B. deserves the Best Supporting Actor nomination.
Yeah, he probably will get one.
And I think he should. I don't think he will, but I think he should.
Here's the cynical part of me before we finish off some of these. Here's the cynical part of me that's stepping up here. So I think there is still a mindset in the Academy that, and it's not, I don't think it's a conscious thing. I think that people very often will look at movies that have all black casts or even predominantly black themes and think, this is a placeholder. I need to set that slot aside. And I think when Moonlight was nominated, a lot of people breathed a sigh of relief and said, there's that slot that I was saving for a moment for Birth of a Nation. And then all that, all the college stuff broke and the rape accusation and all that stuff. And thank goodness now I don't have to nominate that. I can give that film's place to Moonlight. I think a lot of people are going to see Beale Street or Green Book, and they're going to think, oh, now I don't have to put Black Panther in there. Now I've got those two films that can take that slot.
And herein lies the problem with the Academy. Herein lies, because you know what? Why are there? You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. I I don't think people are consciously thinking that way, but I think when they look at when they go down, they start checking their boxes. I think there's a little thing in the back of their heads
because they're not going to do that with Bohemian Rhapsody and A Star Is Born. I know one is a biopic of and one's not, but they're effectively kind of the same. But they will not think of those as one canceling out the other.
No,
so it's just not fair. I'm sorry, Mark.
But would Black Panther get nominated because it's a film with predominantly black? Or because it's so damn popular.
I think partly it's so damn popular, but also because there is a fundamental thing with a lot of Academy voters where if they are told for too long and too far ahead of time that this is a film you should nominate, they become intuitively counter rebellious, right? And they say, "Well, screw you. Then I'm not going to nominate it."
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not convinced Black Panther's going to get that because I think there was a little bit too much made of it too early on. But I could be wrong. We'll see.
All I know is that Star Is Born will get nominated for 9 Oscars, and I'm telling you, and we talked about this before. If you look at some of the recent Oscar winners, Shape of Water or The Artist or Argo, they all either honor old Hollywood or make Hollywood the hero.
Yeah.
And A Star Is Born, it draws a line from
does.
Judy Garland right to...
It does.
Shape of Water was destined to win the moment you had that shot of Shirley Temple climbing the stairs with them into the boathouse.
Yeah.
And then all the 80-year-old members of the Academy, because I can die now, I won't be forgotten.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
True.
So Star Is Born, I mean, it really could go all the way.
So real quickly here, we just got a couple.
You said 20 minutes ago the show was almost over.
Yeah, I know. We'll do just a couple more here real quickly, and then we'll leave some of this off for the next couple of weeks. We got a Three Stooges, a Best of the Three Stooges Volume 1 release from Time Life. This is really just 3 volumes of stuff that's just been thrown together. Movies, TV appearances, it's everything that they could possibly scratch up archivally that does not belong to Sony Pictures, which has all of the shorts. So they've got a lot of the early shorts, 30s and 40s, and they've got Have Rocket Will Travel, The Outlaws is Coming, the 2000 biopic. All this stuff, Bon Bon Parade from 1935. There's just a lot of stuff thrown on here in 3 different volumes. For Three Stooges fans, it's great, absolutely a lot of fun, but it's kind of a hodgepodge at the same time. And then also from 1920, this is from Kino Lorber, the absolutely wonderful You Never Know Women, which is a William Wellman film before he became the guy that directed All Quiet on the Western Front. And you have an audio commentary from his son, William Wellman Jr., and there's an essay in here. There's a terrific score by Donald Sosin. And this is just a fantastic silent era love triangle. It stars Florence Vidor, who is just wonderful and long forgotten. This was created a production of Adolf Zukor and Jesse Lasky before they went on to fold their operations into what would become Paramount Studios. This was just Paramount Pictures at the time, not a Paramount studio. They had the name Paramount. Eventually, they joined up with like Jesse Lasky was just folding in famous players. It's a long that's a really interesting history. It's all kind of happening at about this time. And, William Wellman went on to be one of the great directors of the sound era as well. But this is absolutely terrific. So really, really first rate. And did I say All Quiet on the Western Front? Wellman directed Wings. Sorry, I got that wrong. Wings was the very first Academy Award winner. So, anyway, You Never Know Women. And Tim, you got one more?
Well, Art School Confidential. This is interesting in that it's a very good movie from 2006. But Terry Zwigoff, this is his career, right? I mean,
so
dude,
weird, right?
so strange. The documentary, that's 1994, right? Ghost World is 2001, wonderful little movie, with all of that.
Movies.
And then some this that. No, well, Bad Santa, 2003, and then he makes this movie in 2006 and hasn't made anything since.
I know, it's weird.
And but when he hits it, This was a wonderful little comedy about. A kid goes to art school in New York and all the competitions and sort of internecine fighting and stuff that goes on there with a young Max Minghella and Angelica Houston and John Malkovich and Jim Broadbent sort of roaming around the movie. Good little movie, but Terry, dude, what's up with that? But you just do what you got to do when you got to do it. Anyway, neat movie. A little bit on it in terms of special features, making of Art School Confidential, some deleted scenes, which are really, really cool because, it's been a while, a blooper reel, and, that kind of stuff. Art School Confidential.
All right, that's it. And next week, Halloween show. And you know what we're going to have on the Halloween show?
Mark.
Yep, this is scary.
Can I come back, Wade? You let me back?
Right now, you look like Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine. I'm not kidding.
Oh, he was badass.
With the hair and the beard and all that kind of. I'm serious. He looks like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Yes.
Fantastic. The Wolverine will be with us next week.